Welcome back to Dede Talks, the Art of Specialty Lenses. We're going to continue our episode with our special guests, Lynette Johns and Jackson Lau. Let's pick up where we left off. So what do you feel has the most impact in the future of scleral lenses, and what do doctors need to know about that impact?
As far as impact, I mean, just getting the information out there for practitioners to jump into it, that's important, is to see how many lives can be changed. So many patients say they never heard of it, their doctors never recommended it, and it's a shame. And I think getting the awareness out there is important. I think that dabblers should be careful because I think there's a huge component to education that's really important for scleral lenses as a modality, because you think, well, they're not touching the cornea, they're not harming the eye, but you have too tight of a lens over the course of 6 months, your warranty period's over. Guess what? You have to fix that. The patient's not going to be happy. And so education is extremely important for the impact of sclerals. And so I think it's twofold. It's awareness for the patient population, awareness for practitioners, and then that's an overarching theme is education for both, and confidence for practitioners.
Well, and I do know that, leaning on your consultants at your labs, whichever labs they are, leaning on your consultants, learning about the lens designs and not sticking to just one lens design is really important when it comes to increasing that education and increasing the use of scleral lenses across the board.
Exactly. And also knowing when to say when, working with the consultants, knowing when to just stop the tweaking. I think a lot of practitioners keep striving for the perfect, pretty fit. And, you have the triad of contact lens fitting, which is vision, comfort, and ocular physiology. And if the ocular physiology isn't being impacted, the fit might not be super beautiful, but at the same time, it's not causing any harm. And it's not going to cause any harm long term. It doesn't have to have that perfect, even clearance all the way through the cone. And it's just, know that you don't have to tweak in 5-micron steps. And I'm sure, Dede, you're laughing because on the consultant side, you hear us like, well, let's add 10 microns to the landing zone. It's like, really?
No. Well, and I think as fitters too, and professionals, we want it to be perfect. We strive as fitters for it to be perfect, whenever perfect is not always achievable. And exactly. I think we see a lot, and I know I do as a consultant, I see a lot of practitioners that want the lens to be perfect, but the eye is white and quiet, it's nice and healthy, the patient's seeing 20/20 or 20/20 plus, it just is ugly. And it works. So, and we see that sometimes even with Ortho-K. I mean, you get some fits, you look at it and go, that'll never work. And patient's doing great, not having any problems. And it's like, but I don't want it to look like that. I want it perfect. So.
It's an easy transition to go from being a fitter of scleral lenses to Ortho-K and vice versa. While I would joke that you're smushing the cornea in one way and vaulting it the other, but at the same time, you typically have the same anatomy of a lens that you're working with. You're working with that reverse curve that is helping you bridge a cornea or, give the appropriate treatment zone. And then you've got your landing zone wings, that are peripheral curves, similar to both lenses. I think there's really a good cooperation between these modalities for specialty lens fitters. And I think if you just choose one, not to be intimidated by the other.
Oh, exactly. I agree.
Yeah, and I still have fourth year students who rotate through our clinic, and one of the things or a couple things that I really try to emphasize is, as far as specialty contact lenses in modern times, we have so much technology to help us. And on the one hand, it's great, but on the other hand, I almost want to force them to be able to do things without technology, because there's so much value in purely learning observational skills. And with technology, it's almost like we're not relying on that anymore. And so I think that's one of the key things is, can you see something and can you communicate what you're seeing? And fortunately, with cameras these days, with just adapters using our fancy phones, it's a lot easier. But being able to report what you see and accurately report that to the manufacturer or the consultants, that's 90% of the battle sometimes to just get started. And so I think, don't have to be intimidated, but at the same time, you do need to do some level of prep work or homework so that you're not going into this completely, with no knowledge of specialty lenses. I think that's,
we get a lot of questions about what do you need to fit scleral lenses, or what do you need to fit Ortho-K? It's like fluorescein in a slit lamp. That's pretty much, you can fit it that way if that's all you need, but you got to know how to read a fluorescein pattern. And for Ortho-K, you like to have topography. You don't have to have it, but you like to have it, because it really tells you where your treatment zones and things are. So I agree with you. I think, going back to basics sometimes, especially if you're having an issue, go back to basics and really look at what else you're seeing. I use OCTs and mapping and that kind of things to justify what I'm seeing in the fluorescein pattern more so than in the reverse.
Absolutely. And sometimes, doctors are doing the reverse, which is not necessarily wrong, but it can lead the question, okay, there's not sometimes technology can lead us astray, right? So we need to make sure that we know how to confirm before we completely trust the technology. There's always different ways that there's inaccuracies that we need to know how to troubleshoot it when technology fails us.
Agreed, absolutely agree. All right, what would you say to the new OD that's just finishing up school, that's interested in getting out in the real world of contact lenses, and not just contact lenses, but specialty contact lenses?
I can take that first. My advice is, first, learn a little bit about the basics. I don't think you need to learn everything, because I get a lot of paralysis analysis where I'm just, before I want to start anything, I want to know every single thing there is out there before I start something. So that's not necessarily needed. At least learn some of the basics before you get started. But the best way is probably to find a local mentor who's willing to walk you through the steps. They can guide you through either simple troubleshooting, but things that you just don't know what's out there, right? Fortunately, sometimes companies, like Euclid, Visionary Optics, we have, people out in the field where we can actually help with wet labs. We can go to your office and help with, fits. If you, line up a couple fits, we can help with that process. But just having that real world live experience is really helpful to just get started. But not to be overwhelmed, be able to communicate things properly, as I said earlier, to the consultants. In current times, there's just no real excuse to not be able to do a specialty lens fit with all the resources that we try to come up to help with the process. So I think just get started, but also be willing to ask for help, because there's a lot of help available.
Yes, when you establish yourself with a lab, they're so helpful, and the consultation team really can guide new practitioners where to get started, how to get started, and to be that safety net and that confidant to help them gain the confidence that they need to, flourish in the field. And like Jackson said, we go out into offices and are able to fit with practitioners, new practitioners, seasoned practitioners. And that's one of my favorite things to do, is just to do in-office trainings. You jump in and it's just like, all right, roll up your sleeves and let's have fun. And, it's fun to teach and it's fun to fit. And it's always good to have that ability to have your relationship, hand in hand with somebody, like for me, always having a mentor around wherever I was helpful just to bounce ideas off of. And even when I was the quote unquote mentor, having the resident or the student to just, ask questions, you realize, wow, I really need to brush up on this. I thought I knew this, but this is a really good question. And we're always in a state of learning. So
Absolutely. I've learned more from students just in that same situation. It's like, hey, wait a minute, that's a different way to think about things. So that's been a lot of fun in my history working with students and working with residents and really digging in and finding some of those pieces as well.
Yeah,
All
the
right,
other thing I was going to add, Dede, was
Yeah.
I think utilizing the people that you have on hand, it's a great idea to fit your staff. That way, as long as they're willing and you're not going to harm their eye, they're willing to try it out. You can, let's say, fit an ortho K lens on them, and they'll be that much more confident in talking to patients about the process, how to do the actual insertion removal. And so just having, some free fits for your staff, I think that'll really get you a lot more confident, growing your sample size of not just
Oh,
zero,
absolutely.
a couple of people under your belts.
And your labs will work with you on the cost of that as well. I recommend that for all the staff, all the doctor's offices that we train, fitting scleral lenses, ortho K, multifocal lenses. Put your staff in these lenses and let them kind of give you their feedback, because their feedback's the same thing you're going to hear from the patients. So we recommend that quite a bit.
I advise new practitioners to lenses not to undercharge their time because they're new, because this is when they're sucking up the most chair time. So, they need to charge for their time, and patients don't have to know it's their first fit. It's okay. You're learning, but you don't have to, just undercharge your expertise.
And it's all about confidence in the way you present yourself as well. So I do think that's super important. Even if you are questioning your own skills when you're doing it, you know more about it than anybody else in the room. So, and you can utilize other people, you can utilize your consultants or your partners or those kinds of things to really get in there and teach yourself and learn. All right, I want to switch gears a little bit. I want to know if either one of you have any special talents that you'd like to share with our audience.
I'll let you take that one first, Lynette.
I wouldn't say I have any special talents, but I've participated in some fun things. I guess one of those funny, odd little things that I've done in my history was I actually made holograms in high school. We would set up lasers, and it was kind of like, it's like photography, but you'd have to have two lasers to make a 3D image. And so it took, I can't really remember this well, but I want to say it was like 15 minutes of exposure time, and you couldn't have any vibrations. So that was my odd little fun fact of my life, and I haven't done it since.
Well, and think about it, it's in the optical industry, so
Exactly.
it kind of just led you to where you are today.
I don't have any special talents, anything worth mentioning, but I would say maybe my wife would say I have the special ability to buy a lot of kitchen tools that I almost never use. I just like gathering kitchen gadgets. Maybe it's because I grew up in my parents' restaurant and I just have this affinity for restaurant stuff, but beyond that, that's about it.
Well, as an amateur cook myself, I am right there with you. I think I have every kitchen gadget that's ever been out there to do just about anything in the kitchen. So I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
All of my baking can go on cakes gone wrong. But I try.
Well, and that's all that matters. As long as they taste good, they don't have to be pretty. It's like a contact lens fit. As long as it works, it doesn't have to be pretty.
It's not compromising physiology.
Exactly. All right, you guys, thank you so much for being here today. I'm so excited that you were here. I think it's been a great time. And I just want to thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Dede.
All right. Have a great day.
Bye.
And thank you for joining us at Dede Talks, the Art of Specialty Lenses. Stay tuned for other episodes.